then. All right, go ahead, Thăng Thiên, please. Go ahead.
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha.
All right, thank you. So, Tammy and other will come down here soon. All right, today we continue to discuss about the breath meditation, but please. So, what is his name?
Justin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just come down.
He went to the restroom.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, let me share the screen. Okay, so last time we talked about this. We talked about samadhi. I remember samadhi does mean concentration, that you're really in tune with things you're doing. Like even while you're driving, while you're drawing, even while you're cooking. Of course, when you sit in meditation, if you're really in tune with your breath, concentration, your attention stay up samadhi.
So I heard my heart beating. I've been hearing my heart beating now.
Oh, good.
But it didn't happen in meditation.
That's okay.
It's just like random.
That's okay.
And then today, walking meditation, it happened a lot. Not when I was sitting, but when I was walking.
Oh, that's fine. No problem. Don't worry. Don't worry that.
Will it just come more and more often
It
now?
come.
Is that what happens?
Yeah, it happened naturally.
And
Don't look for that.
I had it happen before, I just didn't know what it was. Like when I had it happen before, but I didn't know what it was.
Hi. What's your name for you?
Jesse.
Jesse?
Yeah.
Jesse?
Jesse.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you talk to them? Yeah, go ahead.
I was telling them that I was hearing my heartbeat. I can hear my heartbeat now at different times, not during meditation, but just kind of different random times. Just like now when we were walking doing meditation, I could hear my heartbeat on and off.
Mm-hmm.
But I just hear it more and more frequently now. And I heard it before. Just every now and then I would hear it, even before I started meditation, but I didn't know what it was. And I would like shake it off really fast. Like I would hear it, I think, oh, that's strange. And I would just like shake out of it. And I think the same thing too, if you get in the flow state, I would do the same thing. Like I wouldn't, like when I realized I was there, I was like, oh, what is this? And shake out of it rather than just kind of going with it. So that's what I'm kind of doing more now. It's just when I hear it or feel it, just kind of leave it be.
So it will come naturally. You don't need to look for. Elizabeth, when you sit down, could you hear your heartbeat?
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice. How about Kendall? You think you can, when you close your eyes, can you hear your heartbeat?
If I focused enough, I feel like I could hear it.
Oh, okay. It's okay with you, right, Thăng Thiên? You could hear your heartbeat, right?
No, but I don't hear, but I feel my heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
I feel it.
You feel that?
Yes, I feel it.
So William, is no problem for you, right?
Same as Tantien. I feel my heartbeat if I direct my attention to it, but I don't. It's only rarely that I will hear it.
Mm-hmm. It's come naturally.
It is weird because I thought I'd hear it like when I thought I was just gonna hear my heartbeat. I thought I'd hear my heartbeat from my heart, but it comes in my ears, which makes sense because of course you hear from your ears. But I used to think I could just feel it, but once I finally recognized what it sounded like, then I can recognize. Oh, okay, that's what it is. It just took me recognizing what it sounded like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, it will come naturally. You don't need to seek for.
Yeah, it won't come if you seek for it. Because
Yeah,
in meditation, it never comes. And after I heard it, I was like, oh, okay, I could try to meditate again, and that came again. So I went lay down, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's what. When you really in tune with your meditation, you could focus.
And pull it and make
Yeah.
hear it yourself.
Okay, so you were not here last week, right? Okay, we talked about samadhi. Samadhi is mean in the general term, you're really in tune with things you're doing. Like while you're driving, like you writing, whichever letters to your girlfriends. I'm joking. So whichever thing you do, if you really into that, it's similar as a state of samadhi. So when you do meditation, you really in tune with your breath concentration. That's called samadhi. But again, it's many different levels, not one levels. Make sense?
Sure.
So it comes naturally. Okay, so the next one. Okay, here we have, when we sit there, we have all kind of state of mind, right? Happiness, anger, peace, fear, courage, high randy, greed, compassion, frustration. When we sit there, right, you could feel all kind of emotion, all kind of thoughts that pop up and go in our mind. And again, you know why? Why is that? Well, we have all kind of thoughts, all kind of emotion. Why?
Human nature.
Human nature, but why? Why?
I feel like we're sitting with all of our thoughts. We're sitting with all of our thoughts. We're taking time to actually think about everything.
Mm-hmm. You know why now?
Well, not really, but
Why is that? Well, we have all kind of emotion, all kind of thoughts.
and I think they're the same, right? The emotions are your feelings, really, because it's like whatever you're thinking about, the different thoughts that are coming to you. If you think about what's the actual thought, then it's more of an emotion. Like if you're worried about something, then it's really anxiety. So all those different thoughts will come in really as the really emotions coming towards you. So I think the more thoughts and stuff, just the more anxious you are, the more fearful, or the more happy you are, then those different thoughts will come to you.
Yeah. Kendall, you know why? Why when we sit down, it's all kind of thoughts, all kind of feeling, all kind of emotions that pop in our mind and so forth.
I feel like when you sit down and you have all of those thoughts, it's because you haven't really had time throughout the day to think about it. So it's just a time for you to think about everything that's happened, whether that be the emotions you kind of put off or all of the thoughts you put off, so you could focus on other things throughout the day.
Elizabeth, what do you think?
I think it's because this is about meditating, right, Thai?
Doesn't matter.
Sitting.
I'm talking when you just sit there and close your eyes, or just sit by yourself, sit down by yourself. Why? When we have all kind of thoughts, all kind of feeling, all kind of sensation.
I think it's because we're not being distracted by other things going on, whether it's we're focused on schoolwork or we're focused on our work at our jobs and whatnot. When we actually have time to sit down and think and force ourselves to think, that's when all of those emotions or all of those thoughts come flooding in at one time if you're not careful.
Okay. How about you, William?
Yeah, that's an interesting question of why is that the status of things. Like, why don't we just go blank when we don't intend to do something? I think it's because our sense of self, so like my idea of William, in it, there's this unexamined idea typically that I'm in control of my thinking. But I think the fact that when we sit down, thoughts come unbidden and feelings come unbidden, they're just arising continually. It really suggests that it has nothing to do with the self. Just like the weather, there are like rules that the weather will follow. There are laws that the weather will follow. We can't control those laws. We can understand them. And it's kind of like thoughts are in a sense like that, like just another phenomena that are part of being human. And we certainly can spin the wheel. Like, we can make them go faster. We can make more thoughts come up, and we can direct our attention at certain things to think about certain things, but we can't stop them. Like, they can slow down on their own if we're not spinning the wheel. So it seems to come with the territory of being a human, that we are just our whole world view and how we relate to the world, we have constructed through like language, which is using thinking.
Randy, what do you think?
I would think when we're sitting down and we're not, we're just focusing on ourselves. We're removing the filters of basically life, what's going on around you, because we focus on the moment generally. So if you're doing dishes, you're focused on doing dishes, and your mind's not. I mean, our minds wander, but we're not necessarily taking the time to just release our mind into welcoming whatever thoughts come in. So I think when you're sitting down, when you're meditating, or just taking a breath, doing a breathing exercise, or closing your eyes to relax for a few minutes, you're basically opening yourself up to bringing those other ideas, those other emotions in, because you're no longer focused on something else that's taking your time.
How about you, Thang Thieng? You know why? Why is that? When we sit down, there's all kind of thought. What do you think, Thang Thieng?
I think because we encounter with people and things, and we have and we interact with these people and these things, and that's how we have thoughts and feelings coming to our mind. And so when we sit down and when we sit down, it's we have all these thoughts and feelings coming to our mind. It's very hard to let them go. So if you take your time and practice more, you put more hours into practice, and you will be able to settle down all the thoughts, because you have all this thoughts and feeling appearing to your mind. I think the more you practice, all the thoughts and feeling will settle down.
You know why? Why? When we sit down, we all kind of thoughts, all kind of emotion, all kind of feeling and sensation. You know why? But why? Let's say while you're driving, you may not notice that. While you're walking, while you talk with other people, you may not recognize them all. But when you just sit down to calm your mind down, or to close your eyes, relax, or even while you lie down, you could recognize thoughts pop up and go, and so forth. You know why?
I
Why
think
is
so.
that?
Maybe.
Why?
I guess when you're sitting down, you just are more focused, more relaxed. You can breathe.
But the question is why? When you, let's say, while you're driving, while you interact with other people, you may not recognize that all you have all kind of thoughts until you sit down by yourself in a quiet place. You could recognize. Why is that?
I guess a comparison would be maybe like if you're outside with a bunch of people and you yell and you say, you can't, no one can hear you. But if you go somewhere quiet and you yell, you can hear you.
Okay, that's good an analogy. That's good. Thank you. Okay, so let me share with you some image. I think this would illustrate my points. First of all, you see the light shine through the windows. What happened here? If let's say at night there's no light, right? And this we see the darkness. But when in the morning or whenever the sun go up, and we see the light shine through the windows, and we see all kind of particles, right? You understand that? Just means when our mind calm down, it's like we have that flashlight or that kind of sunlight that shine through the windows, and we can see all kind of particles of those flying around. Make sense? Candle, make sense?
Yes, Thai.
And the next one, I want to show you this. Here's our five senses, right? The eyes, the ears, the nose, and tongue, the body. Whenever we see this, what happened? In Buddhist view, right here, the sight, the hearing, the touch, the smell, and the taste. Whichever object we see and the view, if we really pay attention on those objects, what happened? It will register in our consciousness. That's why when you sit down, those images pop up again. Let's say today, you work for Home Depot now, right?
Lowe's.
Oh, Lowe's, yeah. Yeah, so let's say today you saw some weird people that walk into Lowe's. Right? Sometimes you see those people, right? And what happened then? Whether you drive the car or when you get back, you think, oh wow, somehow that's just a weird person, it's weird people. So because they're so special, that register into your consciousness. That's why when you calm your mind, they pop up again. So your eyes like the camera can capture the image. Or let's say if sometime let's say you have a good day, right? So your manager or supervisor may give you some compliments, or you're so happy, right? But what happens if they say in other way, you feel sad, and it may carry when you at that moment, right? The moment that they give you compliment or they give you hard times, at that moment you may not think much until you get home. Think about that. Remember how they say. You understand that? When you calm the mind, when you in the quiet place, most of the time those image, those sounds, those conversation, expression will pop up again.
So they always exist.
Yeah, and even let's say if someone share with you a piece of cake at Lowe's, and when you go home, oh wow, it's so delicious and so forth. So through our five senses, we register, we capture those sounds, those images into our consciousness, what we call here the eight consciousness here. That's why when you sit down, those images, those sounds, and those tests pop up again, according to Buddhist view. So there's nothing.
So they've already made it to the eighth con. They made it all the way to the eighth con.
It's like you use the mouse to capture. If you pick up some information and you save on the computer, whenever you open the computer, it's still there. So your brain work as a computer. We'll discuss about that later on. It makes sense?
Yeah. So what about the seventh?
We will discuss. I think we discussed before, right? Yeah. The sisters mean the one that discriminate, good, bad, good side, bad side, good, pleasant, and unpleasant sound, and so forth. That's number 6.
Is that like your mind?
Kind of, we can say we don't say the mind in general, but we specifically say, oh, that this is the sixth consciousness. The sixth consciousness as an agent. Let's say, just imagine your eyes, your ears, your nose, like the windows or the door. When they open, we see things over there. If we close, we don't see those things. Makes sense? So the sisters like the owner of the house that recognize things out there. That's discriminate things out there. And so because of the attachment we discussed before, that's why we have okay attraction. Let's see here.
Would the 7 be the ego? If you were
yes, the 7 is the ego. Yeah, that's attached to the ego. Let's see here. This one here. You see that and it attached to the things. Let's see here. I know. Okay, here this is easy for you to understand. So my story: cell, grasping, aversion, attraction, right? So, and number 8 is just that the storage house. You keep all the information there. But number 7, because it's attached to the ego, that's why whichever thing, let's say if you go to China, for example, right? Because you get used of eating at McDonald's, you go there, you go to find McDonald's because you've been familiar with that. You get used of eating hamburger, whichever, right? You may not have the appetite to eat the Chinese food yet. You understand that? So that's why if you like certain things, certain object, you keep in that 7 consciousness, and when you go in anywhere, any places, and you could find out, and you're looking for the similarities that you have that in your mind, like Vidano, Boken, and so forth. It makes sense, right? And if you don't like, you will try to reject them. Okay, so that's why all carb does, in this sense, all carb does, when we have concentration, like we have the flashlight, it will pop up in our mind again, all kind of information, the sight, the hearing, and so forth. It makes sense now? Okay, and this one here, let's see here, and deeper than that, here, this is the form, what we call the 5 aggregate. I think we discussed before, we just review, right? The 4 present of his body, and here our feeling. That's beside the 5 sense. We talk about the feeling, pleasant and unpleasant. Perception, that means our experience that we encounter, and consciousness, that's 8 levels of consciousness. And mental formation, that's been our habitual patterns. You see that? So this is that is just one levels. Okay, this is one level, one way of explanation. Another ways of explanation. Is it make sense for you guys, or is it confusion?
They don't seem to be the same. I mean,
They're the same. They're the same. They have connection here. Okay.
So it's like that, the 6th sense then, or that would be the 7th.
Here, the consciousness here. The consciousness here. We have 8 levels. 8 level of consciousness here. Okay, and here the feeling. You understand the feeling, right? Good feeling, bad feeling, neutral feeling, with anything that we see, that we hear, right? And we have, when we get used of certain types of things, we have what we call the mental formation. That's mean our habits. We have certain type of habits. It's like someone wake up in the morning, they have the habit of drinking tea, drinking coffee, or having anything for breakfast. That's the habit. And the perception, that's our thinking, depend upon things that we encounter with. Okay, and feeling. So they connect with this thing. They connect with this eye consciousness here. It makes sense now?
Yeah, those are the 6.
Okay. Yeah. So the 6 consciousness recognize or register or discriminate good side, bad side, beautiful side, ugly side, and so forth. And it register of discriminate, right? The pleasant and unpleasant hearing. Hearing, you understand that? Or the smell, good smell, bad smell, and so forth, and good state and bad state, or neutral state. So that's number 6. Okay, and whichever thing let's say if we have good feeling, right? Good feeling is come from this one here, number 7, that has all kind of feeling because it have attachment to the self. It makes sense now? So that's why it say, okay, this is the thing I like. I will preserve that information in our mind. It's like you go to the internet and you search for the information, and if the thing that you like, you can set into your computer. It makes sense? Okay, so this is one way of explanation, and this is not a way of explanation. Makes sense now? So they are connected with each other.
Because this part here is all part of the sixth sense, right? The sixth consciousness.
This one
Is that
relates to a
Is
consciousness.
that eight? Okay.
And whether it's perception or mental formation or feeling, is all a part of consciousness too. Make sense? William, make sense now? We discussed before, right, William?
Yes.
Okay, so you see the connection between the 8 consciousness and the 5 aggregates?
Yes. I was reading the description associated with the picture on the when you went to the web page as opposed to just the search results. And it was explaining it as the initial seed of consciousness, that like part of what makes consciousness possible, the paragraph above the picture. And
I see.
and I think that makes a lot of sense. And how, form matches up with the senses and the physical body, and then the feelings are going to be more in that space of the play between the 6th and the 7th consciousness of, I feel good if this is good for me, I feel bad if this is bad for me. And the perception is very much a play of the 6th and 7th consciousness, where it's like, my sense of perception, correct me if I'm wrong, is like a pure awareness would be the milk was spilled. My perception would include a interpretation of why the milk was spilled. Like, he spilled the milk on my lap because he was upset at me. Like, that's, maybe I have perception wrong there, but it seems like a play between the 6 and the 7 because it involves the self, but it also involves awareness. And then the same would be true with the mental formations. That would be like a play between the senses, the 6th and the 7th as well.
Yeah, it makes sense now. So basically perception right here. Yeah, thank you, William. So mental formation, feeling, perception. Yeah, that we can say that the interaction between the 6th and 7th. Yeah, and the body is just for the 5 sense organs. Okay. All right, so I just like to explain to you briefly. So later on, from time to time, we can review. Does that make sense, Kendall?
Yes, I had Elizabeth explain it to me, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'll get it.
Okay. Elizabeth, it makes sense?
To me, it makes sense, but who knows if I get it wrong.
Khoa, you follow us, Khoa?
Yes, I'm trying my best. I think I understand.
Yeah, I want to explain. So that this is not the focus for our discussion today. We discussed about the let's see here, the meditation. That's okay. Let me go back here.
But the 8 consciousness, 8, that's what you take with you to the next life. So that's why you need to clean it out all the time, so you don't take all the garbage with you forever.
Yeah, that's meditation. Otherwise, you carry all.
And you won't know why you're doing what you're doing because you won't remember from previous lives.
But still, in deep deep down in your consciousness, you have all kind of expertise, all kind of thinking. That's make you special. That make you different from other people. Right? Everyone has different expertise, different skill, different habit to pattern. It's here. That's why when we sit down, all kind of this thought, feeling, information pop up in our mind. You understand now, right? So that interaction between the six and the seven, the formation, right, the perception, our habitual patterns, and so forth. So only when we calm our mind, like when we shine the light through the window, we could see them. All right, let's see here. Yeah, only when we calm our mind, it's like the sunlight, or we use a flashlight to shine to the darkness. We can see all the particles. Otherwise, we could not see them. It makes sense now? Okay, so this one, that's the thing I want to discuss. And here, when we talk about the attention cycle, when we sit down and do meditation, uh, uh, the core process of mindfulness practice will come back from time to time. So at first, we notice, let's say, the breath, and we acknowledge the breath. And if we get lost, because all kind of thought may pull us away, it's normal, right? And we would have to bring back our mind back to our breath and refocus ourselves. And again, from time to time, it's not the human nature, but because of all kind of thoughts that try to pull us away. You know why? Why is that?
Why the thoughts try to pull us away?
Why?
Because they're trying to tell us. I think because they're like undercovering feelings, and the feelings are trying to get your attention for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the more thoughts you like, the anger you have, and you've got anger going on. But if you have different thoughts about happiness, you have happiness going on.
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat? Sorry, can you repeat one more time so that we can hear?
So the thoughts that you have are really representing your feelings that you're having. So the more thoughts you have, when you look at the story of what your thoughts are telling you, it may be anger that's appearing over and over again. Or you might be having thoughts of things that made you so happy today. So you're having a feeling of happiness. So your thoughts are trying to represent your feelings. And if you don't listen to your feelings, then they'll get louder and louder and louder.
So how could you, when you sit down there, how could you deal with them down? How could you let them go then?
It's easy for me now. I don't know.
Oh.
It just took practice. It took a year.
How's easy now? How?
I just anchor to my breath. I just concentrate
So,
on my breath.
That anchor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anchor down to your stomach.
All kind of thoughts like the winds blow you, right? All kind of direction, right? That wind try to blow you away. But as once you have anchor, right? You anchor down with your breath, right? They won't blow you away.
And when they get to be too much where I feel like it, then I'll just imagine water. I'll imagine them being not the wind, but water just like washing over me or around me. Wow. Or anchor down.
Oh, you recognize us. That's only through practice you recognize us. Otherwise, it's not easy. It's not easy to let go of something that they mean to you. It's not easy. Elizabeth, you know why? Why it's not easy to let go of some conversation, some compliments, or that negative compliment, let's say from your professor, or from your friends, your best friends, for example. How could you let them go then? Let's say if Kendall somehow she says something that hurt you, then how could you let go?
Well, personally, if I were going step by step, I would first ask her why she made that comment and try to figure out what her intention was from that comment. Was her intention to hurt me, or was it to give me constructive criticism to help me be a better person? And then proceeding after that, I would say that as of right now, I care about her as my friend. And so I wouldn't want to give that up too easily. And so we would try to work together to figure out how we can proceed with our friendship after that. But I think it definitely depends on how I feel about that person leading up to that point, whether or not it's worth saving or it's worth letting go.
But again, it's easy to say, you better let go, right? Let go of other people negative comment and so forth, right? It's easy to say, but not easy to do. That's why, right? We discussed about that, right, William? Right. So how can we get go of that then?
Well, I just had something happen around this today. I engaged a friend in a Facebook conversation, and he ended up like just I don't know, going somewhere he didn't really need to. It's like got angry and used some words that just weren't needed, like wasn't kind. And my mind, I could see it just compulsively going back to the conversation and then having reactive feelings around it. And when I felt it start to shift is when I really connected with, it's coming from a place of anger and also from a place of ignorance. And I know anger, I know ignorance. Like I know what that's like to have that, and that it's a state of suffering. And so that, he's in a state of suffering when he's there. And he's also given me the opportunity to practice my patience, to practice compassion. So it's like that chain of thought gradually helps me to not keep going around reactive emotions, but to begin to kind of cultivate the response and select the direction I want to go in, which is towards freedom. And so then I'm just thinking that, yeah, I don't like anger and ignorance. And so I wish that this person who I consider a friend, I wish that they are free of these things, and that I'm not a victim in this situation. He's given me an opportunity to practice. And it's generally along that line of how I'll try to remove myself from the cycle of just feeling bad about the situation.
Okay, yeah, and so what do you think? It's easy for us to analyze so that we can let go of whichever negative comment from other people, or it's better for us to anchor our mind with, let's say, our breath. So what do you think? Which one is much easier?
Oh, I'm actually living it this past year, and I have lived a real life situation of things that in life that I could not have happened to me. For a normal human beings, I would say it's very easy to grab on to things that we react to. Like normal human beings, we say, "Why do you yell at me? Why did you talk like that to me? Or why did you lie to me? Why did you do this X, Y, Z?" There's a lot of why. That's a common thing. Why? And even you walk away, it's still a why. In your mind, you keep thinking about it. So it's very, very, very difficult, because if something that really, truly hurt you, it keeps coming back. So listening to the master, help to say, make sure that you anchor. I think that I learned something this year about anchoring, using a breath as your anchor. That's kind of like a ridiculous idea, but I never thought that way. How could a breath anchor you in any serious situation? But when you have practice, not even think about meditation, just anchor breathing. You focus on your breathing for 1 minute, and which I did, like 1 minute, just simple 1 minute. Then it takes away you from thinking negatively, or trying to go back to that same conversation that your wife, your friends, or someone that you hate or angry at, and you keep thinking about it. So at least it helped me personally in real life situation that I stopped thinking about that. That whatever that issue is, at least focus on that moment of 1 minute of meditation. That's 1 minute meditation that the master told me to just focus on. So I think that's actually helped. But in reality, if you don't practice it, when that emotion came up, then you will just naturally gravitate to the same habit of, like we talk about in the morning, wake up, we drink coffee, we drink tea or whatever. So it's a natural habit. We're going to go toward that. So 98% of the time that we are born that way. So when we have an angry situation, we gravitate toward that right away. So by practicing meditation or technique of breathing, for me, has been helping a lot. But it's not 100% solved yet, but it's helped. So we'll see.
I think what helped me the most was the discussion we had on the difference between pain and suffering. So when somebody makes that comment to you, then you immediately feel the pain. But reliving that conversation over and over again, you're pulling yourself into suffering. So every time I start doing that, then I tell myself, no, that at this point you're causing your own suffering. So it's easier for me to let it go. And also, even though someone's close to you and they say words you don't like hearing, that's their opinion. That's not your truth. So recognizing that also, that just because, your wife or your brother or whoever said something to you, that's their opinion and that's how they're making it through life, but that doesn't have to be your reality. Or maybe they're just having a bad day, but you don't need to go back into that suffering over and over again.
Oh, thank you. Okay, you follow us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's again, I want to bring up this issue again so that we can understand. One thing is that we can use our analytical thinking to let go of things that may not be worthy for us to think about. Another thing is that we need to anchor our mind. So in Buddhist, we what we call anchoring our mind is like concentration here. Using analytical thinking, or in Buddhist term, contemplation. It would help us to let go of things much quicker, but depend upon the situation. Like last time I gave analogy, like if you sit nearby a pure swimming pool, you can see from the top down to the bottom of the swimming pool because the water is pure and clean, right? But what happens if you sit nearby a pond? There's no way for you to see down there, down to the bottom of the pond. Only when you have the pure water, the clean water, you can see. So there's a mind. So when you have a lot of thinking, you have a lot of concern in your mind, there's no way for you to see things through. You understand that? That's why you need to anchor your mind down. You need, like the future, right? You need to anchor your mind down. You need to settle down your mind. That's what we call concentration. It makes sense, Kendall? You follow me?
Yes, Thich.
Okay, so at first, if you have a lot of thinking, you have all kind of turbulent thinking, you need to anchor your mind. You need to focus your mind first. So after your mind is settled out, you could use what we call contemplations. At that time, you could see things more in reasonable way, in logical way. But if your mind is so muddy, if your mind has all kind of concern, there's no way. It will keep come back. That type of analytical thinking, judgmental thought, and so forth, it keep come back and again and again. It keep pull you away from reality, from the present moment. Let's say someone, especially your best friends or whoever you work so many years, you know them well, but somehow they turn on you. Make sense? That's pure heart. That's why in the past I saw many people, especially couples. At first, of course, they love each other, right? That's why they live on the same roof. But somehow later on they could not work together, and they filed divorce, and somehow some of them they turned into enemies. because they know the somehow they know each other well. You understand that? So in this kind of relationship, anyway, to go back, I want to say that at first, if we have all kind of thinking, it's better to calm our mind down. It's better. Let me share with you the screen here. What we call in Buddhism, again, concentration. And this is mindfulness. Concentration does mean you really focus your mind. You use, let's say, some techniques to refocus your mind, right? Like you zoom the lens, you adjust the microscope so that you can see the material down there. This is the deep practice vertical movement, right? You calm your mind, right? You substance unwavering attention on one object. That's why when you focus on your breath, eventually your mind will be refocused much easier. You could that's the first step. You could later on recognize your own feeling, you could recognize your own sensation, and eventually recognize your own thought. Step by step, like last time I discussed. So when you really calm your mind with what called undisturbed stillness, it's like the clean water. Again, you move to what the practice of mindfulness or contemplations. At that time, let's say if you have the clear water in that swimming pool, let's say there's some rock there, something down there you don't want, you can jump down and pick them up and throw them out. So there's contemplation. It makes sense now? But at first, for normal people, we need to develop some skill, some concentration skill to calm down our mind. But if we try to contemplate when our mind is so muddy, our mind is so confused, it's not easy. Because those information, those hatred, those jealousy will come back and get back to us, and we may not have strength to refocus our mind. That's why we have these two traditions. One is concentration, or we call samatha. Another one is mindfulness, as mean vipassana. Vipassana in the broadened awareness. When you have your concentration already, it's like the flashlight. Whichever you point, wherever you point that flashlight to, whether it's the corner of the room or the chair and so forth, you see them clearly. Makes sense now? So mindfulness is the series of concentration. It's like a wide angle lens. I surface practice horizontal movement. You shine your light, right? Characteristic energy is open, available for awareness, and so forth. So from time to time, we discuss about this too. It makes sense now? All right. Kendall, you understand that? Kendall?
Yes, I.
So Khoa, you understand Khoa? Yes, Anand, yes?
Yeah, thầy. Master, I have a question. At some point, I'm still very new at this. So let's say at some point, I'm going to look at the end here. So let's say if I'm practicing my meditation long enough and routine enough, and let's say if 3 people practice meditation in the same progress. So if we have one issue that we're trying to, after we do meditation, with that same issue that we're trying to resolve, all of us will see the same result. You follow me? Let's say you say that you said that there's a pond. Well, at the end of the bottom of the pond, if it's tranquil, everybody will see the same diamond down there. But would that mean that if I'm able to do meditation at some level, then William would do the same level, and then Elizabeth, whoever, Tammy, at the end of that progress or journey, would we all see the same diamond? You follow me? If it's the same issue we're trying to resolve, is that the same diamond, or does everybody have their own way of looking at it, how to resolve that issue themselves?
Wow, that's
through
great.
meditation.
No, that's a great question. You understand?
perceptions. Everybody still has different perceptions.
But still, I mean that when you really in focus, when you really in the samadhi, again, let's go back to your question. Remember we discussed about different levels of samadhi or concentration. So, but in Buddhist view, so if you really calm your mind, you could recognize what he called diamond. Everyone else could recognize a diamond, or in Buddhist view we call the Buddha nature, the awareness nature. Everyone has that. Make sense? Right. But of course, as human, we're still in progress of working on our spiritual life, our spiritual process.
So is that the same as saying like when we all see something, we see different things?
At first,
But if
in
we
the
got to that
surface level,
we would all see the same
let
thing.
me put this way. Yeah, the way that now, okay, now let's say the way that you look at, let's say, the screen may be different from mine, and everyone has different view, right? But when you really calm your mind, and when you really are aware of those things, we have the similar views. If we really go down to deeper state of our mind,
we would all see the same.
Yeah, but on the surface, everyone is different.
Because they say like if somebody's a robber or something, everybody sees something different. You know, everybody has different. But in this state, everybody will see the exact same.
That's what. Yeah, later on we study what they call the four immeasurable mind. That's we need to practice compassion, love with kindness, equanities, and sympathy. What do you call joy?
Appreciative joy.
Huh?
Appreciate joy.
Kind of appreciate joy and so forth. So those are the four immeasurable mind. That when we attend to that state mind, we almost the same. We can say that at the same level, like the Buddha, they have that level, that attend to that level. That's why we call them as Buddha. But for us, from now until that state of mind is different. For instance, let's say you go to school, right? Whichever major you need to study, let's say become a doctor, for example. Yeah, you go to high school, college, right, and pre-med school, and later on you go to medical school, and eventually when you finish all the requirements, you obtain that PhD or doctor degree of whichever medical degree and so forth. Make sense? So that's why in Buddhism, when we study about, remember the Lotus Sutra, that's what we talk about. The pureness, in an term, the diamonds. That the pureness of Buddha nature there. But until we find out diamonds for ourselves, every one of us have different paths, different views. It makes sense, and yeah. So that's why from now, again, it's so practical that we need to recognize as without practicing meditation, there's no way, with my own experience, no way for you to let go of all kind of negative comment from other people, all kind of sight, all kind of sound, and so forth. It's not easy.
And the more you think about it, the more it's going to
the more affect to you.
And it will stay in your store.
And like you disturb, let's say you have the muddy water cup, right? The more you disturb, the more it's muddy. You could not see anything more until you just let it to settle out at that moment, at that location, at that spot. That's all. The more you think, that's why the more you think, the more crazy you are. Yeah, yes, Anand. Yeah. Yeah, you have question, Anand?
Dạ không thầy.
Okay, Khoa, you
I'm good.
understand that? You understand that, Khoa?
Yeah.
Thân Thiện, you understand that, Thân Thiện? You recognize the more you think, the more crazy you may be, right? Thân Thiện, right?
Yes, Thầy. Yes.
Yeah. So, how about you, Elizabeth? It makes sense?
Yes, Thầy.
Why? If that's the case, so you don't need to study at all, or what do you think?
I don't need to study.
Is that the case? Because the more you think, the more crazy you may be.
I mean, the world's greatest thinkers, all they did was thinking, and look at how much knowledge we were able to learn from them. So.
But again, if you are thinkers, right? It's good in one way, but if you don't know how to let go of your thoughts, somehow it may be harmful too. It makes sense, Elizabeth?
Yes, Thầy.
Why? Why is that?
Because you have to learn how to use your judgment, whether or not some things are worth thinking about more and others that you need to let go of. So, for example, like if I spilled my coffee this morning on myself and I didn't immediately let go of that thought and it put me in a very bad mood, then that lingering thought is going to continue ruining my day as the day goes on. But if I immediately think, okay, that was just a misfortune and accident, and let it go, get myself cleaned up and proceed with my day, then you start realizing that the minuscule things, the little hiccups along the way, aren't going to be as severe as, let's say, something tragic does happen, like somebody got into a car accident. Then you can put that effort and that thinking towards things that actually do matter, that you need to ponder about and question, instead of putting the same amount of effort in things that you need to just let go of.
That's good. That's good. You use your analytic thinking to let go of things. But again, if you, let's say, you study from morning to night, right? Your brain may blow up, right? Right. So that's why if you don't relax yourself, you stress out easily. Does that make sense? Right. So even in the way that you analyze things, okay, this is not worthy for me to think about, but still it come back. Right, it in the back of your head, it will start. I mean, that you keep coming back so many times. Sometimes, if you could not focus, you might not be stressed out, and it's all kind of suffering you may need to deal with. So that's why when we talk about meditation, it is to release those energy. It would help us to release those conversation, bad conversation, or bad image, or whichever that we don't want to keep in our mind. Make sense now? Right. Especially when you deal with the public.
Yeah, can't let it stick around. Not those good things.
Even sometimes you try to figure out, right? Yeah. Let's say why you work at Lowe's, right? And what happened? You have bad day. Your coworker, your supervisor, and your, let's say, your customer, they give you negative comments.
Yeah. If I could go home and carry that around.
Yeah, it's not easy, but you let go at once, right? Yeah, it's not easy. That's why if we don't practice meditation, there's no way. In my experience, not my view, but in my own experience, there's no way for you to let them go. No way. Until you anchor your mind down with your breath. We decide the sutra, the mantra, and so forth. We anchor our mind one spot. So they still there. They still like the background noises, but they would not pull us away anymore. Eventually, we will not pay attention to them. Otherwise, they keep coming back until we fail, until we fall down, right? Anyway, so next week we talk more about the samatha, that's been concentration, and vipassana, that's been mindfulness. Okay, especially the samatha, that's been the breath concentration that we talk, right? We talk about different 4 types of breath, right? It's so important. I like to talk in the practical sense for us to apply in our life. Okay. All right. So, Kendall, you follow me? Yeah. Kendall,
Yes, Thai.
you have any question?
No, Thai.
Hua, you have any question? You follow me?
Yes, Thầy.
Okay. Yeah. Thân Thiên.
Yes, Thai.
Okay. So, Anh, you have more question? Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Thân Thiện. Can you say Namo Shah Buddha, and we conclude today then.
Namo Sakamuni Buddha. Namo Sakamuni Buddha. Namo Sakamuni Buddha.
All right, thank you. We'll see you. Thank you. See you then.